22 signs that you are actually an INFP. And a little preface to this, all personality types can and will probably do these things at some point in their life. But as INFPs, we experience these 22 things constantly. So listen and enjoy and let me know which ones resonate with you the most. First, we enjoy mapping out intricate fantasy worlds or alternative realities in our minds. Can you effortlessly and endlessly create more and more elaborate stories based off one little ideational springboard? See, what this is us creating these detailed imaginary universes and scenarios as a mental exercise, as a feeling exercise as well. And what this does is it allows us endless exploration and creativity within the boundaries of our mind, which is practically unlimited based off how more and more expansive we can make each idea. And really what this means is that we find joy and mental stimulation, emotional stimulation in constructing these complex alternate worlds, that we get to explore different versions of ourselves and different parts of ourselves in different realities and see how we would react in those situations. We feel more at home in fictional worlds than in the real one. You often get lost in the pages of a fantasy novel feeling like it's where you belong. Or if you scroll through the comments of World of Warcraft YouTube musical soundtrack videos, you see people like pining for this existence that they've never actually lived and feeling nostalgia for a world that they never actually lived in. It resonates so much with me. And this is an affinity for the immersive and imaginative aspects of fiction, of life, and it provides an escape and a sense of belonging in alternate realities. And our imagination is a sanctuary. And fictional worlds are a comfort zone that we can go into and we can play in. We can explore different facets, again, of ourselves, but of different possible worlds. And it's so exhilarating. And we would love to spend all of our time in there as opposed to going out into the real world, which is scary. INFPs daydream about saving the world, but struggle to start. Have you ever caught yourself imagining this grand plan for world change and yet find it hard to take the first step? I've talked to so many INFPs through coaching calls that want to make massive changes in the world, and yet it feels so overwhelming to even start. We have no idea how to actually do the extroverted thinking thing of just taking a step and then taking a step and getting feedback and adjusting. We have these idealistic aspirations which are paired with hesitation and that struggle to initiate action. And we reflect as we kind of have this visionary mindset often, but we get caught up in the planning phase. And it's okay. Like everybody's going to go through that at some point, but INFPs really get stuck in stagnation. And we have this desire to make a significant impact, but getting that first step is quite difficult. Taking that first step is quite difficult. INFPs have a playlist for every mood, but we rarely share it with other people. So consider this. Does your music playlist change with your mood, becoming this personal soundtrack to your life? We have this collection of music, of songs, of albums that really resonate with various emotional states that we're feeling, or if you're doing it right, the states that you want to feel. This is a little hack that I picked up along the way is choose the music that is going to create the state within you. And this serves as a personal soundtrack, which is aiding in emotional processing. And music is a deeply personal experience and a reflection of your inner world. So when you find music that resonates with your emotions or things from your past, it can be very soothing, but it can also be motivating as well. So leverage that. INFPs find deep metaphors in mundane objects or events. Isn't it intriguing how ordinary moments and events can sometimes reveal these profound insights? We have an ability to see profound significance in everyday life. And we can use that to transform these ordinary experiences into thoughtful insights and a fun exercise of what we can do with our mind and our heart. And we perceive the world through this lens of a deeper meaning. And that can be good most of the time, but also we can latch too hard onto some of the deeper struggles and the bad things, and we can extrapolate that out and say, this is the meaning for all of this. If we get into our introverted intuition as our critic, we can say, well, this is why everything's going to point to this, and there's nothing I can do about it. So use your extroverted intuition to extrapolate ideas in a positive way, or befriend your introverted, intuiting, mystic aspect of yourself so that you can have a better relationship with it and create a positive future for yourself. INFPs prefer texting over calls for meaningful conversations. So think about it. Do you ever feel more comfortable pouring out your heart in text than in spoken words? I've talked to so many extroverts who are just like, I would rather just talk and just, speed hack this thing, get it over with. But for INFPs, we have this preference for written communication for serious discussions. INFPs rewrite texts and emails multiple times for the perfect emotional tone. How often do you find yourself editing a message over and over and over again to capture just the right emotion? Choosing the word not because it's accurate or correct, but because it conveys the emotional nuance that you want to convey. This meticulous crafting of written communication and conversation really ensures that the message that we want to convey is the intended one, and that emotional nuance is there. Because we're deeply considerate about, how our words affect other people, because we know how words affect us as well. INFPs create elaborate backstories for strangers that we see in public places or in movies and fiction as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Have you ever watched strangers, done some people watching, and just imagine the stories behind their faces and behind their interactions? This imaginative speculation about the lives of other people is so fun and so intriguing, and it really locks into our introverted feeling as well as our extroverted intuition of putting our heart into other people, which sounds like a horrible metaphor, and imagining what life would be like for them. And this turns people watching into this creative and empathetic exercise. And we possess this rich imagination and curiosity about the lives of other people. And sometimes we don't act on it. A lot of times we don't act on it because we have our barriers as well. But it is so much fun to embrace Sonder and just imagine what all these other people are doing and what their life is like and where it came from and what it's going to become. INFPs see philosophical depth in seemingly simple plots and stories. So do you ever notice yourself uncovering these hidden meanings in the simplest of stories? And I'm not just talking about fictional stories, but in real life stories, in real life interactions. We bring the hero's journey to every aspect of our life. And we have this ability to uncover deeper meaning and bring out some, flavorful depth, I suppose, from these straightforward narratives or events. And this reveals hidden layers and messages to stories that most people don't see, and they might not even actually be there, but we find a way to bring them out. We love looking beyond the surface and seeking wisdom in all forms, specifically in storytelling. INFPs experience profound nostalgia from specific scents or sounds. Your sense of smell is a highway to the brain for everybody. But we have our introverted sensing and our tertiary function, and it really has this childlike innocence to it. And there are these scents or sounds that just whisk us back into time, into an emotional experience that we have really latched onto. I can smell a certain smell, and it takes me back 21 years ago to a specific location, specific person, and it is so packed with emotion and curiosity and life. So this is something that INFPs have a weakness to, but if you learn to leverage it, you can bring in intentional sounds, music, and other sensory experiences into um, intentional nostalgia. INFPs choose fantasy novels as guides for real-life problems. Do fictional characters and their journeys often or ever give you real-life guidance? In the Path of Heroes Academy, just today, we used this process of creating characters to problem solve real-life issues. And we can use fiction as a framework for understanding real-life issues, and we often do. It just kind of naturally happens. We put ourselves into these other characters' stories, and we get to apply lessons and morals from stories to personal challenges. And because of that, we find wisdom and guidance in every metaphorical journey and fictional characters. So make sure that you choose the stories that you want to find lessons from for your life. INFPs find deep connections with animals and nature more often than people. Consider how animals sometimes seem to understand us better than our fellow humans. There's this profound empathy and bond with non-human beings, sometimes non-sentient beings. And we foster this sense of understanding and kinship, specifically though with animals. You often find animals' company more appealing, more comforting, and more authentic than human interactions. So it's something that we lean towards. I've met other, I think she was an INFP, who was like, I can talk to cats. And part of me was like, yeah, I can see that. INFPs struggle with physical self-care. Do you keep up with like brushing your teeth and bodily, washing and stuff like that? It's been a difficult journey for me to make it a regular thing. And sometimes it slips. I'm like, wow, I didn't eat today. What? And I have to go back and think like, why did I not eat today? And it's usually because I was so involved in some story, some idea, and it just swept me away completely. And all my focus went to there, and I just completely ignored my physical body as the vessel container for my imagination and my heart. INFPs have this uncanny ability to predict movie and story endings. Isn't it interesting how you can predict how a movie will end, like almost as if you wrote it? You just know it before anybody else does. We have this knack for foreseeing plot developments and conclusions. A lot of that comes from our extroverted intuition of getting all these different points that we're just like, oh, this is where it's going, right? We can kind of cobble them together and see what the end state would be like. And this is a sign that our understanding of narrative structure and character and story development and motivation is really intrinsically tied to us. And you have this intuitive grasp of storytelling and can anticipate narrative arcs because you can put yourself as a human in the story and see where it might go. INFPs feel a strong kinship with misunderstood characters and underdogs in stories. Do you ever find yourself drawn to the characters in stories who are overlooked or bullied or beaten down? A lot of it comes from our own personal experiences as being a rare type, and we know what it's like to be in those negative positions. And also, our personality type kind of sets us up so that we want to fight against the man. And so we want to look after those who are overlooked, those who are underestimated, and we want to support them and cheer them on. And this reflects our sense of connection and empathy for those who are facing challenges. I know I can put myself into somebody else's shoes and experience the pain that they're feeling by seeing their situation, understanding them a little bit, going inward, finding it within myself, and then experiencing their pain and their struggle. And a lot of me wants to alleviate that. So I want to root for the underdog and make sure that they win. And you often see yourself in these characters who persevere despite adversity. So make sure that you also persevere despite adversity. Don't give up too easily or too early. There's always more room to grow and always more XP to gain. INFPs prefer doodling or sketching as a form of note-taking and idea processing. So think about how a simple doodle can sometimes capture an idea way better than words. We use our visual art skills, our ability to, bring out symbols as a way of recording and processing information. And it helps in retaining and understanding information in a creative way. When I was learning kanji, like the Chinese characters within Japanese alphabet, I couldn't do it just through rote memory. I couldn't look at it and just memorize where the strokes were. I had to create stories and say this radical, this piece, and this piece come together, and this is the story that's coming out of it. And that's how I remembered it. And as an INFP, you often engage with ideas visually and find clarity through getting it out and seeing it in front of you and then playing around with it. INFPs often try to interpret dreams. So have you ever considered the meanings hidden within your dreams? I've spent so much time. It was actually something I was going to major in, was dream analysis or some form of that. Analyzing the content of meaning in dreams is so stimulating, and it offers insight into your unconscious mind, your thoughts, your feelings, and how you are emotionally processing things. And you can view your dreams as a way of bringing out this aspect of yourself. And you can play with it. You can understand it even more through metaphor work, something that I studied, metaphors of movement. Check it out. There's a module in there that is basically dream analysis through the metaphors that you use to speak and communicate. It is extremely powerful and something that, again, I often use with clients. INFPs get emotionally invested in fictional characters' lives. Have you ever felt a deep emotional connection to a character in a book or a show, forming this strong attachment, this bond to characters in books, movies, TV shows, and so on, is something that is very stereotypically INFP. This leads us to experiencing their joys and their sorrows as if it were our own, for better or worse. Fictional narratives really deeply impact us as INFPs, and it gives us time and space to also reflect over who we are and who we want to become. INFPs often get caught staring out into space, time traveling in thought. Do you ever find yourself lost in thought and traveling to different times and places in your mind? Other people might see that as just empty staring, but there's a lot going on within our minds and within our thoughts and these stories that we're living out within our heads. And we get lost in that thought. We get detached from the immediate surroundings. And it allows us, though, to let our mind wander, but more intentionally to let our mind create these stories and these narratives and these realities that are hinting at something that is important to us. And through that, if you reflect over that, then you can delve into introspection and daydreaming intentionally and exploring inner thoughts and fantasies as something that is going to allow you to shape your life in the way that you want to shape it. INFPs spend a lot of time pondering and thinking over the meaning of songs and lyrics. We often dig into song lyrics that speak to us, and it prompts for deep reflection. I remember bringing lyrics to my AP English teacher in high school, and we would just sit there and analyze over and over all these different songs and what they could be talking about, what it could mean. And this deep contemplation and interpretation of lyrical content is really exciting. And that also comes out in poetry as well. And it connects to this emotionally and intellectually curious aspect of ourselves. And the lyrics often resonate with us, and they spark some personal reflection, spark insight, and a way of discovering more about who we are as people. INFPs find solace in organizing and reorganizing personal spaces when we actually do it. So think about that peace that comes from rearranging your personal space to reflect your inner world. Now, the initial step up to organize my room is something that is always a bit painful and I have to convince myself to do. But when I get to move things around and color code them and put them where they need to be, put the speaker where it wants to be. It creates this sense of like just peace and wholeness and the order and harmony in the outer world, in the physical environment, provides a sense of control and comfort and self-expression as well. You know, your surroundings are a reflection of your inner state, and arranging them in the way that you want, that is reflecting who you are as a person, can bring you a lot of peace. So look around your room. If it's really messy, it might be something that you want to deal with. INFPs relate personal experiences to larger universal themes. You ever see your personal experiences as a part of this larger universal narrative or story? You know, connecting individual experiences to broader, more universal concepts is something that we do as INFPs because we focus on the individual with our introverted feeling, and then we focus on all the different options and possibilities with our extroverted intuition. So we can see the universal within each individual. I hope that makes sense. And this offers a perspective that, teaches us about our personal journey, and it puts us into a position of something greater. Whether you are religious or not religious or spiritual or kind of in between floating around, everybody wants to feel like they're part of something bigger. And we seek to understand life as part of the collective human experience, even when it's difficult, even when we don't want to people. We want to find a place for ourselves that has meaning, that the world needs us and wants us in it. And because you've watched this far in this video, you're likely wanting to know more about yourself as an INFP. And the best way that I would suggest to do that is to go to infp.geekpsychology.com and sign up for the INFP Masterclass. You'll learn about your cognitive functions, who you are as an INFP, and how to leverage that and the skills necessary to live a life that is fulfilling, that you actually embrace your personality type, that you don't feel broken. Because you can't continue to go on not enjoying and not leveraging your personality type. You've got life ahead of you, and you can do amazing things. But it's a matter of learning the skills necessary to do that so that you can wake up and feel positive and happy about who you are as a person. Or just even feel just okay, right? To wake up and be like, I'm good. But it's better to feel motivated and excited about living life and about making an impact in the way that INFPs can and need to. Look around the world. We need INFPs to step up and to stop playing small and to embrace our strengths of bringing the world together under a shared humanity. And it's hard. It's not easy. I understand that. But the best way of getting to that point is to understand your personality type and leverage it so that you can play life better and you can live the kind of life that you want to live. I would love to be one of your guides along the way. So go to infp.geekpsychology.com. Check it out. If it's right for you, please get it and write me. Let me know how it's going along the way. All right. Good luck. Have fun. Peace.